Photography Essentials Part 2, or what are the elements of a good photograph? What tools are available to you to take a good photograph? Well, we have context, emotion, motion, framing, cropping, and composition, color, subject, exposure, which is also related to light and lighting, perspective. Okay, so let's start with context. Context is what gives a photograph meaning. It's the setting of your story, basically. If you're reading and your subject is in a place, it has a context. Placing your subject in context affects the photo. For example, place the subject, a baby, in a crib, and then place the baby in a burning building, and you have a totally different context. The context affects the viewer's emotions of the photograph. Emotion. Not all photographs will elicit an emotional response. Emotion, however, can bring out something in a photograph that's not actually in the photo. Why does one picture give you an emotion while another one doesn't? Motion. Most of the time, photographers are trying to stop motion in a photograph. Motion can add something to a photograph. Early photographs had little motion for technical reasons. Someone added motion, and he was considered revolutionary. Motion can add interest. Framing, cropping, and composition. Composing your photos is very important. Some poor photographs can become great photographs with cropping. What tools are available to us? Well, the rule of thirds, or the golden mean, or the Fibonacci rule or principle. The rule of thirds, probably the most widely used rule, the most useful, and it's the most basic. Imagine a tic-tac-toe grid on your image. The subject should line up on the intersection of the lines, and some people say to line up certain things on the diagonals. The golden mean or Fibonacci rule or principle is a little more complex. This is a shape similar to a seashell or a conch shell, and the subject or focal point should be at the center of the spiral. Cropping. Cropping an image to make it more interesting. This means you need to shoot to give yourself room to crop. Not everything needs to be the full frame width of the picture. You can crop out certain pieces to give intimacy or emotion or motion. Color. Photography started in black and white, and the advent of color added a new dimension to photography. And adding or taking away color can add interest or emotion to an image. Subject. In part 1, we determined every photo needs a subject. That's the noun of the photo, or the person, place, or thing. Your subject should be the focal point of the photograph. The subject is what the photo is about. Make sure you are photographing the subject, nothing around it. Exposure. Wow, this is one of those flexible rules. As long as you know how to use it, it's okay. Don't overexpose or underexpose unless you do them both well. Just make sure you have enough light to light the subject and give context. Once you master exposure, then you can break the rules. Perspective. Taking a picture straight on is boring, obviously, by this example. You have made your camera a Xerox machine. Get up and move. Move around. Take a perspective on the picture. Take from up high and down low. Photography is very active. Here are some suggestions. Shoot children from their vantage point, not from the top down. Shoot up at thinner people. This gives them the feeling of being a little bit wider and gives them a little more meat. Shoot down on larger people. This gives them the feeling of being smaller. Shooting up gives the subject the perspective of a larger size, and shooting down diminishes the subject. And here we're going to go through all of our principles. So, context, emotion, motion, framing, cropping, and composition, color, subject, exposure or lighting, and perspective. Thanks.